Hello, everybody. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever had to speak your foreign language in some situation, or you thought you were going to go speak it, and so you were like maybe rehearsing things in your head? You're like, I'm going to go to that guy, I'm going to say the thing, and it's going to go so well, it's going to be so cool. And so you go to the guy and then you say to the thing, but what you hear back is not the response but that you were expecting, but some kind of and you have no idea what this guy said, and you couldn't catch a single word, and you have no idea what he means, and now your cheeks have turned red, and your ears are on fire, and your heart drops, and you feel a pain in your stomach, and you're like, I thought I could speak this language, this was gonna be so perfect, and now I don't know if I can understand it or speak it at all, because I was just trying to order a hot dog, and now I feel completely lost. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me before. And most people that I've spoken with who have a lot of experience with learning foreign languages, they have some kind of similar experience. I went to the country or I went to the neighborhood where they speak this language and I tried it out and I felt so embarrassed and ashamed, or I felt so I lost the confidence. I thought I could speak this language, but then when I actually had a native speaker speaking it back at me, I just had no idea what was going on. I felt completely out of my element, and I thought, man, I suck. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me a lot. So that's the topic for today's video. And in this channel, in case you're new here, my name's Ty, and I talk about language learning, linguistics, foreign languages, and all that jazz. So if you are a foreign language lover or foreign language learning enthusiast, then subscribe to the channel, and that'd be great. So the message for today's video, so that I told you about the topic, is what do you do, or what is it that gets us in this situation where we feel suddenly panicked, where we can't understand a single word, we can't parse a single word that the person in front of us is saying. And the message that I'd like everyone to take home from this video is just stop and relax, and remember, when you get into this kind of situation, it's not your fault. Maybe. It might not be your fault. It might be your fault, but it might not be your fault too. So like, I'd like you to think about this. So what do I mean by this? Well, let me tell you a story that can maybe help you understand this kind of what I'm trying to say. So one time I was in India, and I was feeling, before I came to India, I was feeling pretty good about my Hindi proficiency. I thought I can understand pretty good, I can hold conversations. So I came to India, and it was my first week there, and I went to an Indian restaurant with my two Indian friends, and they were both girls, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but when the waiter came, he looked at me and he said he was going to take the order. And so he was speaking to me in Hindi, and so I wanted to speak back to him in Hindi, and so we kind of tried to communicate. I wasn't really sure what he's saying is the thing, and so then I started to kind of panic and tried to excuse me, can you say that again? And then the more he spoke, the more confused I felt, and I just felt like I couldn't understand anything. And then I was like, oh my God, my friends, I've told them I speak Hindi, and now they're seeing me fail so much, and I don't understand what this guy's saying. And then he kind of shook his head and he walked away, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so embarrassed. But I really had no idea what this guy was saying, and I was trying to communicate with him, or saying something on the menu, or what this kind of food is, or I don't know what he was even saying. So we had complete breakdown in communication, and then he walked off. And so then I turned to my friends and I said, oh my God, what was that guy saying? And my friends looked back at me and they said, I have no idea, couldn't understand a single word that guy said. And these were Hindi native speakers. So then I was like, oh God, it wasn't just me. That guy was just mumbling and nobody can understand him. And what I'd like everyone to understand who is learning a foreign language and maybe has these experiences where you go and speak to a native speaker and maybe you have no idea what they're saying, is sometimes maybe that person's not even speaking properly. Sometimes this has even happened where someone, I've had people, myself included, where you go and you try to speak a language to someone, you're like, oh, I don't know what this guy's saying. They're not even speaking the same language as you. Like, you go to someone to speak Hindi, and he's not even replying in Hindi, he's replying in another language. So of course you don't understand. And the other thing is, communication is always a two-way street. So as someone who's learning a foreign language, of course you have some degree of responsibility that, you should try your best to express yourself and learn the language properly. But if you feel like, okay, I have a certain degree of proficiency, I'm going to try to practice this language. When you go to someone, it's a two-way street. The person has to meet you halfway. It's just as much their responsibility to try to make themselves comprehensible to you as it is for you to try to comprehend what they're saying, if that makes sense. So I've often had this experience where I'm trying to learn a foreign language, and I feel so panicked when I hear it and then I can't understand a single word. Like, I've had these experiences, and I'm like, if I could catch a single word, maybe I could guess what they're saying, but I couldn't even get a single thing. It just sounded like a blur of words coming at me. And I think then when you start to feel panicked, then you start to even, it makes the situation worse. It's exacerbated. Now because you're panicked, you understand things less and less. So what I would like you to do, my call to action, is whenever you go to speak to someone in a foreign language, I want you to, of course you shouldn't be obnoxiously cocky, but I'd like you to have this almost arrogance or confidence, an unfounded confidence that you understand this language. You might not be very good at it yet, but you understand this language to a certain degree. And it's also part of the other person's responsibility to make themselves understandable to you. Because if you can access this kind of level of confidence, then you will stay more calm, and then by staying calm, you will be able to navigate this communication situation better. So that's basically the message. I don't know if I need to draw it in any more than that, but yeah, it all just comes to be confident in yourself. And when you get in this situation and you're like, oh my god, I have no idea what they're saying, instead of thinking, I suck at this language, my listening comprehension sucks, or these people speak so fast in this language, I can't understand them, or I need to study more, start to think also, well maybe this guy's mumbling, or maybe he has a weird accent. Maybe he is also not a native speaker of this language, or maybe he is a native speaker of this language, but maybe he's being a jerk and using these words that to try to confuse me or something because he doesn't want anyone to bother him. There's all kinds of situations which might make your experience, your communicative situation as a foreign language learner more difficult. But if you start to panic, and if you start to blame yourself, and if you start to lose confidence in this situation, then it will just make everything worse. Whereas if you kind of have this cool attitude where you're like, excuse me, what did you say to me? Of course, you shouldn't be a jerk, but if you can have this confidence where you're like, I didn't understand you, and that's not my fault. We have to get this figured out together. If you can have this kind of confidence, so when you go and speak the foreign language, you're going to have a much better time. Of course, it's more easily said than done, but what I would like you to remember, if nothing else from this video, is when you run in this situation and when you don't, like, you start to go into panic mode because you didn't understand a single word the other person said to you, just stop and relax and remember, it's not your fault that you don't understand.